Hey, what's going on? Luke here. For today's video, we're going to be talking about Shaun Johnson and the prospect of him signing with the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, I don't think there's been a lot of talk about him actually signing with the Bulldogs. This is just more a video going over my opinion on the fact that I think the Bulldogs should sign him. Now, going into 2021, I had high hopes and I had high aspirations for Kyle Flanagan. I also had high hopes for Jake Averillo. I was hoping they're going to be the future of the club. Obviously, the Bulldogs were looking to sign Matt Burton at the time and eventually did end up signing him, but I still had high hopes that Kyle Flanagan was going to be the man for the job at halfback, and it hasn't really eventuated. I think it's been pretty clear to see sort of why things didn't work out at the Roosters and why things aren't really working out at the Bulldogs as well. And I think the writing's on the wall for Kyle Flanagan, the fact that he's still not back in first grade after all these weeks. And we still have Jake Averillo playing in the halves, but he's not even, I wouldn't even really say he's a halfback, but he's the halfback of a first grade side at the moment. So it does say a lot about Kyle Flanagan. Meanwhile, at the Sharks, you have Matt Burton in the halves. You also have Chad Townsend there, but the main man, Shaun Johnson. Now, at the moment, the halves pairing for them of choice is Matt Burton and Shaun Johnson. And the real star of the show for me is Shaun Johnson. Now, last year, I thought he had one of his better years. Now, unfortunately for him, it ended up with a season-ending injury, but I'm pretty sure stats-wise and just a visual of just watching, I'm pretty sure it was one of his better years, at least for a good while anyways. Now, we know Shaun Johnson, he had all the hype in the world, all the potential in the world, and I've got to say, I don't think he's necessarily lived up to the hype, but he has had a lot of injuries. And I think at the end of the day, the fact that the Sharks aren't going to re-sign him, I think it more comes down to the fact that pretty much they just have no faith in him in terms of injuries. So his asking price relative to how much he's on the field and what he offers on the field, I think they just don't see the value. Whereas for the Bulldogs, I mean, the Bulldogs signed Matt Burton next year, they signed Josh Adokar, they signed Brett Naden, but they still haven't signed a hooker. They don't really have that real star player. I know they got Josh Adokar, obviously absolute superstar. He's a winger, but at the end of the day, like I said, he is a winger. So they are missing that star half. And I think they were expecting Kyle Flanagan to sort of be ready by next year to be that star half. Add in Matt Burton. I think he had like a potential good halves pairing, but at the end of the day, Matt Burton is stuck playing in the centres for Penrith, and he's not really getting too much experience. And even when he is getting some experience in the halves, he's playing in a makeshift Penrith side. He's got Tyrone May at halfback. He's got a whole bunch of guys who are pretty much reserve graders who are in the starting side. So he doesn't have a lot to work with as well. So I guess you could say he's pretty much playing with the team, the calibre of the current Bulldog side, funnily enough. So look, Matt Burton not getting great experience. Kyle Flanagan hasn't exactly worked out. So I feel like the Bulldogs, they definitely need an experienced half. And what better experienced half on the market than Shaun Johnson? This past week, he just kicked a match-winning field goal. I thought he was instrumental in the Sharks' victory too. And it was an upset victory over Matt Burton, ironically enough. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd love a halves pairing of Matt Burton and Shaun Johnson. You got Johnson there who can steer the ship around. He's also flashy enough to sort of fit the modern game. He's got the step still. It's not quite as potent as what it used to be. He's not quite that little steppy player who's scoring all the flashy tries, but he's got a decent little kicking game. He's got a pretty good running game, and he's super experienced at this point in his career. He's not too bad of a goal kicker, I guess, as well, and he has captained the side, so he does have that leadership about him. Obviously, played a lot of international games, and I feel like having him in the side, at least partnering Matt Burton, compared to, say, a Jake Averillo or Kyle Flanagan, I think it'll be a hell of a lot of difference. Now, I know there's also talk about, maybe even chucking in a Benji Marshall or someone like that into this year, but they weren't looking for sort of one-year guys. They're looking for guys who are going to be there long-term. Now, I don't know if Shaun Johnson's going to be a player who'd be there long-term. I'm probably looking for his last contract of his career, to be honest with you. But I think he is someone who now, with all the clubs pulling out, or they've already got halves that they're pretty settled on, the Sharks have already come out and said they don't want him. I don't really know where Shaun Johnson goes, apart from maybe the Bulldogs or like Broncos or whatever, but if he wants to go and be the main man, he's going to go to a team like the Bulldogs. Otherwise, he's just going to go play backup, be the second fiddle to, say like if he goes to the Broncos, Adam Reynolds is going to be there, Adam Reynolds is going to be the main man. Maybe Shaun Johnson's okay with doing that, but at the same time, though, there's a lot of question marks over the Broncos. And also, if he has a decent season with the Bulldogs, they can offer him a big contract and maybe he can move elsewhere. I don't know. But look, I think Shaun Johnson would be a hell of a signing. And also, I think he just add a lot to this Bulldog side in 2022. And look, the Bulldog side doesn't have that much experience, even with all the signings they've made for 2022. And I say all the signings, like I said, there's not been too many signings. Brent Naden, Adokar, Matt Burton so far. Definitely going to be missing a hooker, potentially missing a fullback. There's a bit of talk that Dallin-Martinez-Lesniak is off to the Warriors at the moment. Also, the talk of him going to the Tigers. I think there's always going to be talk of Martinez-Lesniak leaving because he's probably one of the guys who's in half-decent form. So it's just natural that the Bulldogs coming last are going to lose some players who are playing half-decent. There's also talk about Nick Meaney, a whole bunch of players off contract as well. So it's definitely going to be a rebuilding year again next year. But I think Shaun Johnson, I think he can be an integral part to that rebuild. Like I said, him pairing with Matt Burton, I think that's a hell of a halves combo, especially in this day and age where the game is so fast and you've got to play eyes up. I think the days of playing these set plays and just going, all right, this is our set, this is what we're going to be doing, this is play 1 to 5. No, you got to play what's ahead of you. If there's an offload, you take advantage of it. If there's a set restart, take advantage of it. And especially with all the set restarts, I think you can't afford to be a team that just plays from, let's just complete our sets and we'll put on a set play, maybe do a crossfield kick and maybe we'll get lucky. I don't think you can be doing that anymore. And I think the perfect example of that is the Melbourne Storm. I think they've gone away from that sort of style, and I think it's working well for them. Also, obviously, Penrith, when they're playing well, that's what they're doing. When they're not playing well is when they're sort of getting bogged down. There's lots of actual penalties rather than set restarts and just the ball going out of play a lot. So I think the best thing you can do in 2022, because I think the rules will still be the same, maybe even faster. They just keep continuing to fasten the game. But I think a guy like Shaun Johnson, add in Matt Burton, two really good runners. Burton's got a pretty big boot in him. Shaun Johnson, he's got a decent little shot kicking game. I think that would actually be a really good halves combo. So look, that's just some food for thought. I thought I'd just throw it out there. I'm sure it's sort of like a dream signing as well, because you go back, Shaun Johnson, I feel like everybody's watched those highlight plays, and I think everybody sat there and was like, man, I wish he was at our club. Obviously the Warriors had him and he was a fan favourite. He left. And I think at the Sharks, he's probably a fan favourite too. And that's where I'm hoping the Bulldogs can swoop in and sign him and he'll become an immediate fan favourite. At least in my eyes, he'll be a fan favourite. We were hoping Kyle Flanagan was going to be that fan favourite, but hasn't really worked out that way. And honestly, when I think of 2022 and I think of the Bulldogs, even in 2021 and even in past seasons, I look in the halves, I just look at the team in general and they're just lacking that experience. They're lacking that real leader. And I know they've got Josh Jackson there. They've had guys like Martinez-Lesniak, he's been the New Zealand captain, but I feel like they haven't had a genuine leader in any of the key positions. And I think Shaun Johnson coming in, I think he'd definitely be a leader. You got Matt Burton there, who's still relatively inexperienced in the NRL. And when he has been playing, obviously he's been playing at centre. So you wouldn't say he's an experienced half. So I feel like having Shaun Johnson there to guide him around, I think it'd do him the world of good. And also, I just think it'd be good for Shaun Johnson to have a guy like Matt Burton there. He's been playing at the Sharks. He's had guys who have been fullbacks and been converted into 5'8", or he's had a guy like Chad Townsend who's decent, but he's not great and obviously finds himself in reserve grade, and for good reasons. He hasn't been playing well. So, look, Shaun Johnson, in my opinion, hasn't had a really good halves partner for quite some time. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes with, say, Matt Burton. It'd be also interesting to see how Matt Burton goes if you had a guy like Shaun Johnson. And I think they would really work well together. I think both of them have good running games. And obviously Shaun Johnson isn't quite the runner that he was years and years ago, but I think he's still good enough. And with how the game's going, especially in season 2022, I can't see it getting any slower than what it is currently. I think it's just going to keep going faster. That's what it seems to be doing every year. They keep seeming to be finding ways to make the game faster. And I think having Matt Burton, Shaun Johnson, two runners, two quick guys, both got good steps on them. I think just that threat at the line as well, because they will take on the defence. I think just that threat will give a lot of space to guys like Addo Carr and Brett Naden and all that sort of stuff. Nick Kotrick as well. I keep forgetting Matt Kotrick there. But yeah, I think he'd be a good signing. You can move Avrilla to fullback. Whether it's going to happen, I don't know. But look, I even did a video a while back talking about Brandon Smith and how I wanted him to sign with the Bulldogs. This is sort of a similar video. There's not a hell of a lot of rumours going around. I know with Brandon Smith, obviously, I think talks have happened. I'm pretty certain he's had talks with the Bulldogs, and he might even be close to signing. I bloody hope so, because the Bulldogs do need a hooker. But I feel like at the moment, it's not going to be happening at least next year. So look, if Bulldogs can sign Shaun Johnson, you got an experienced player, and also just another player to add that little bit of aura. Like maybe Shaun Johnson goes there, and Brandon Smith goes, oh yeah, I like Shaun Johnson. I grew up watching him. Another Kiwi. Maybe I'll sign there now. Like just those little things. But look, it's interesting to look at Shaun Johnson's situation at the Sharks. Considering how the Sharks are going, I'd say he's definitely their best half. And also the fact that they're going to be keeping on Matt Moylan, I'm pretty sure. I don't understand it. Matt Moylan must be asking for barely any money. But look, Moylan's not being bad in the halves, but Shaun Johnson is definitely the star of the show in that little combination. And the fact that you got Chad Townsend in reserve grade, and he's won a premiership for him. So it's not like he's keeping out reserve graders or whatever. Like Shaun Johnson is up against some pretty stiff competition in the halves, and he's playing really well. Obviously, just kicked the field goal and set up like some decent tries, and I think he's actually been playing quite well. So look, I think for him, I think it must be money up against his injuries and that sort of stuff, and they're not confident that he's going to stay on the field. For me, it's quite similar to Kieran Foran at the Bulldogs. Obviously, Foran was after a long-term deal, and the Bulldogs just weren't willing to do that, and he ended up signing with Manly, and it's sort of the same sort of problem. So maybe Shaun Johnson, whatever club he goes to, there's always going to be those injury concerns, and they're just waiting for someone to take a risk on him, like Manly did with Kieran Foran. And when he's been on the field, he's been really, really good, but that's just a risk you take and the chance you take with a guy like Foran. But you're going to take that chance because there's just so much class there. And that's how I feel with Shaun Johnson. I feel like the Bulldogs should sign him. I feel like they should take a chance on him. And whoever does take a chance on him, I think we get a really good player. I think you get a player who's probably not going to be asking for as much money as what he's probably worth in terms of actual ability on the field. And it's due to his body sort of not being up to scratch compared to what it probably should be. But at the same time, look, if he can get his body right, and I think he can, because a lot of the times when he gets injured, it's lots of injuries that sort of just happen from him taking on the line or putting on a step. So it's not even like his body's just, he's just pulling hemis, and I know he has pulled hemis, obviously, but a lot of it's like ankle injuries and that sort of stuff. So I think it is something that he can come back from, and look, like I said, hopefully it is at the Bulldogs, but whoever does sign him is going to get a hell of a player. And I know the Sharks, they've got big plans for Nico Hines in the halves, but you're chucking another fullback into the halves. They've tried that with Matt Moylan. Hasn't really worked out too well, but literally your halves pairing next year is going to be two fullbacks who are playing in the halves. And I know it's worked for Jerome Hughes, has worked to a degree for Nico Hines, I guess. Like, he's a pretty decent ball player, but at the same time, it's a big risk, especially when you've already got Shaun Johnson there, who is winning games for you, literally. He did it last week, and I think he'll do it again in the future as well. And the fact that, it's more so the fact that they're keeping Matt Moylan. Like, if they were getting rid of Matt Moylan, Chad Townsend, and just having a complete rebuild, Shaun Johnson's gone, I can understand that, but the fact that they're keeping Matt Moylan there to partner Nico Hines, I don't understand that. And I think Shaun Johnson, out of the two, like, I feel like he's more of an organiser than Matt Moylan is, so it would make more sense. But hey, that's just what the Sharks are doing. I don't necessarily agree, but I hope the Bulldogs are the beneficiaries from it. Anyways, that's from it in this video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. But also make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. I would love to know, what are your thoughts on Shaun Johnson? Do you think he's still got a lot left in the tank? I don't necessarily think he's got a lot left in the tank, but I think he's got enough good years left in him to sort of get the Bulldogs through the next stage in their rebuild. And I think he'll be a good little addition to the side. I think he'll be able to mentor Matt Burton, especially because they've got some similarities in the sense that, pretty good running games, got a good step. I think Shaun Johnson can lead him. I mean, he was the New Zealand captain at one point, I'm pretty sure. So, I think he'll be a good signing. And if you're a fan of another club, you're a fan of the Sharks, fan of the Broncos, whatever, let me know. Would you want Shaun Johnson at your club? Warriors, did you like having Shaun Johnson at your club? Obviously, I guess you probably did. But yeah, I would love to hear opinions from fans from other teams on Shaun Johnson, because I feel like there's not a lot of talk about him coming to other clubs. So maybe other clubs just aren't keen on Shaun Johnson. Maybe it's injuries, maybe it's asking price. I don't know, but let me know in the comment section below. Also, give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT. My Facebook is just Mr. Luke, but everything else is Mr. Luke and YT. So go ahead and give me a follow on that. And that's where I'm going to end this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See yous.